Commanders hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team's giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. How we feeling today on our fourth consecutive victory Monday/Tuesday? How we feeling? Celebrate! The Washington Commanders, they did it again on Sunday with their utter destruction of the Cleveland Browns, 34-13. And the score does not really do this game justice. It was 34-6. The Commanders did not play Brian Robinson Jr. in the second half. They did not play Jayden Daniels in the fourth quarter. They took most of their defensive starters out midway through the fourth quarter. It was a shellacking that felt really good, that really only took roughly about 2.5 quarters. Remember, the first quarter was a bit of a struggle. The offense really didn't get going until the latter half of the first quarter, was dominant in the second quarter, dominant for the third quarter, and by the start of the fourth quarter, the lead had ballooned to 28 points, and the game was no longer in the balance. So this was a performance that was unlike last week's destruction of the Arizona Cardinals, where it took a little while, and even though Washington took a 10-point lead at halftime, came out, scored on the opening drive of the third quarter, took a 24-7 lead, ultimately added a field goal, took a 27-7 lead. The Cardinals tried to show a pulse, went down, converted a fourth down, scored a touchdown, and made it a 27-14 game. So we had to kind of refocus and go put them away. There was no putting away of the Cleveland Browns. They were done. They were dead by the time we reached the fourth quarter. And again, this was without us having our fastball to start this game. So that is a great sign if you're a Commanders fan. And I'm just going to tell you what my reaction is the day after. It's that we're the real deal. Like, we're legit. Now, the question becomes now, are we too legit to quit? How legit are we exactly? Right? That is the next question, and we'll get some of the answers next Sunday. But in the meantime, because we still got 2 more days of absolute celebration, celebrate! We're 4-1, all by our lonesome in first place, although the Dallas Cowboys won last night. We'll talk about that game and along with the rest of the NFC East tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll talk about it tomorrow. It's only a day away. So, with that said, let's get to some of the biggest takeaways from the game. And it is Tell the Truth Monday. Although we won and it's another Victory Monday, you can easily forget that it's Tell the Truth Monday because it's easy to gloss over the truth when you won, right? Who wants to be a Debbie Downer? You just got another big victory. But no, we still have to talk about some good things. Not all of Tell the Truth Monday is bad, okay? It seems like it has this negative connotation, but it doesn't have to be. Everything doesn't have to be negative. But there will be some things in here that still need to be addressed. But first, I want to say, and I said this yesterday, I'm going to reiterate this. The gold pants should be the standard at home. If we wear something other than the gold pants with the burgundy tops, it should be an anomaly, not the other way around. I am willing to start a petition for the gold pants to be a part of our standard home package. Who's with me? Okay? That is a clean look. I don't want burgundy on white anymore. I'm done with it. Throw it in the trash. Burgundy on gold is my choice for home attire moving forward. That's the first thing on Tell the Truth Monday. Next thing. Austin Eckler is fantastic. And, I think we could go ahead and we've done this before, but I'm going to do it again because they continue to really amaze me week after week after week. The veteran acquisitions that were made by Chef P have been fantastic. I mean, he really cooked up some crack with a lot of these moves. Tyler Biadasz has been, man, he's been the best center we've had since early Chase Rouillet. And he's exceeded early Chase Rouillet, right? But early Chase Rouillet was really good. He's exceeded that already, right? He's the best center we've had here in a very long time. Obviously, Bobby Wagner is everything that I thought he would be. Everything that I thought he would be. Some people are still complaining, Bobby Wagner's slow. What in the hell did you think Bobby Wagner was going to do? Come here and be the Bobby Wagner of 10 years ago? Like, understand that this man has been everything we signed up for and then some. And then some. He's been fantastic. So has Austin Ekeler, and that's why I started this conversation, and we could keep going with the Frankie Louvues and the Dorrance Armstrongs and all the other guys that they brought in here, Nick Allegretti, but I want to focus on Austin Ekeler because he missed the game last week, and we were able to forge forward without him, and it was good to be able to find a new depth piece last week in Arizona in Jeremy McNichols, but there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And Austin Ekeler is home at the running back position along with Brian Robinson Jr. And that fourth down run, like there were some big plays in the game. And there weren't many bigger than the Austin Ekeler fourth down run where he looks like he's going to get stopped. That play was supposed to get all the way to the edge. He wasn't going to make it. I told you, you don't want too many perimeter runs against this Browns team. He was not going to make it to the first down going all the way outside, but he makes this excellent cut, eludes the defender, gets up the field, and is able to get about a good gain of 14, 15 on a fourth down run. I mean, Ekeler had the big, 50-yard run, I would say, also that he fumbled on. And that brings me to the next Tell the Truth Monday item. We hustle, man. Like they talked about playing fast, playing physical, arriving violently, all of that good stuff. But I told you one of the hallmarks and the calling cards of a Dan Quinn coached team is you're going to fly around. And it's not just defensively. One of the things I used to be envious of, I used to be very jealous watching other teams, is when a running back would run the football, they'd get 4 yards up the field, they'd get tackled, or they'd be getting stood up by a couple of defenders. And here comes one offensive lineman, then 2 offensive linemen, and all of a sudden the pile is moving, and a gain of 4 turns into a rugby scrum that turns into a gain of 9 or 10. And I said, man, that'd be nice if we did that. We never do that. Because you got to hustle to get that done. Guys got to be running down the field trying to get a block down the field in order for the rugby scrum to take place. But you know what else needs to happen when you hustle in order for it to take place? Is recovering fumbles that your own team has. If you're not hustling, you're not going to be in the right spot. And I told you, luck is a cross-section of preparation and timing, right? You got to be prepared and you got to be in the right place at the right time in order to receive luck. And you make your own breaks. You make your luck sometimes. And last week, a big play that not enough people talked about, or 2 weeks ago, a big play that not a lot of people talked about was the Nick Allegretti fumble recovery of Zach Ertz's fumble in the fourth quarter. We don't win that Cincinnati game 2 weeks ago without it, right? This week, I don't think we're losing this game against Cleveland. It's not as dire as that recovery was back in week 3 on a Monday night. But Austin Ekeler has this big momentous run. He gets stripped from behind it. And the thing I got to ask Austin is, bro, you shook that defender, Martin Emerson, right? What did you think? He fell? He broke his ankle? He wasn't going to chase you after you shook him? Like, guys who juke a defender, run by them, and forget that they're there, I always wonder, where the hell did you think that guy was going to go? What did you think? Once you juked him, he was going to, disappear into the abyss? No, after you juke him, he's going to turn around and chase you. So for Austin Eckler to get stripped by the same dude that he just cut up on is mind-boggling to me. Like, you can't forget that quick that, hey, that guy might be chasing me. I just cut him up. I just diced him. But he's probably going to try to come from behind. I probably should be holding this ball and protecting it. And he was just running like that guy was no longer in the picture. And thank God for Olamide Zaccheaus. That was a big play because we had not yet blown the Cleveland Browns out yet. We were in the process of doing that. If I'm not mistaken, that big run set up the touchdown that made it 28, I believe, to 6. Or 27, to 6, I believe. Or I think it was 27 to 3. It was 20 to 3 at the time. And I think that made it 27 to 3, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a big play. You're still only up two touchdowns, 2 scores. If that fumble's recovered by the Browns, who knows what happens? Could have totally changed the complexion of the game, but it didn't because OZ recovered it. And then 4 or 5 plays later, we're in the end zone. It's 27-6. And you, at that point, I already told you the Browns weren't scoring more than 24 points. They hadn't scored more than 20 all season long. So they weren't going to score 24. So once we got to 27, the game was over. That's a big play. And Dan Quinn talked about it. So I'm loving these veterans, man. I'm loving these guys. How about Dyami Brown? Guy that has been looking for opportunities. We know that he's capable. He was one of the darlings of the preseason. Then somehow he just disappeared once the season started. And all of a sudden, he makes a big play, And that was a game changer. That and the Terry, deep ball were game changers, even though we didn't score off the Terry deep ball. This game was all about big plays, something that we really haven't had a ton of this season. We've been a ball control, first down, third down converting, matriculate the ball down the field, eat up clock type of possession team. Finally, we infused this offense with explosive dynamic plays, and that changes the way teams have to defend you. If you have this rap of, all we do is throw underneath and all we got to do is come up and try to take the underneath throws away, then you're going to get, guys coming up towards the line of scrimmage. You're going to get a lot heavier boxes, and you want to be able to stretch teams vertically. You want to be able to get them away from the line of scrimmage so you can open up the run game and give yourself more space. I told you one thing Cliff Kingsbury's done a fantastic job up to this point is creating space on the field. It feels like guys have a ton of room to operate, whether it's the running backs, whether it's Jayden Daniels, whether it's the receivers or the tight ends. Feels like everyone has a ton of room to operate. And so these explosive plays, the 60-yarder to Terry, the 41-yarder to Dyami Brown, the 50-yard run by Austin Eckler. I bet you didn't remember that we had that many big plays in the game. Jayden's, 30-some-odd yard run down the sideline. There were so many explosives in this game. Those are game changers. They flip field position. They shorten drives. They put you in a position to score points much quicker than normal. You catch the defense off guard. There's a lot that goes into explosive plays and how they help you offensively. And it changes the way teams have to defend you. And it was great to see that, and we need to see more of them. And this offense continues to evolve week after week after week, adding in new wrinkles, adding in new elements. And this week, the new element was the explosive play. And if we can get more of those, this offense will become even more problematic moving forward. So there's plenty more we can get into, but we have another, episode tomorrow. We can get into some more stuff, talk about some other items. But let's move on to in other news, because we heard from head coach Dan Quinn here on Victory Monday, and we'll get to what he had to say here in a second. But before we do that, let's get to the snaps for both the offense and the defense in this game in Week 5 versus the Cleveland Browns. We start with the offensive side of the football. As you can see, 67 offensive snaps total in this game. Only 3 guys to play all 67 snaps were Tyler Biadasz, Sam Cosmi, and Andrew Wiley. Jayden Daniels, Nick Allegretti were taken out early, obviously for obvious reasons, rather. Biadasz, Allegretti came into the game with a bum ankle, so he didn't need to play the entire game, so they got him out of there. Jayden Daniels didn't need to play the entire game. He's Jayden Daniels. He's the franchise. Terry McLaurin played 45 snaps, 67%. Probably the lowest total he's played this season, but obviously he was not needed either in the fourth quarter. Luke McCaffrey played 44 snaps, Ertz 38, De'Ami Brown 37, 55%. That's probably his highest total of the season, if I had to guess. Maybe since week 1. I think he played a ton of snaps in week 1. He just didn't get a bunch of targets in week 1 against Tampa. John Bates and Olamide Zaccheaus, along with Cornelius Lucas, all played 34 snaps, 51%. Brandon Coleman, 33 snaps. It's amazing every week how Lucas and Coleman have, there's one snap separating the amount between the two of them. And it's always Lucas with 51% and Coleman with 49. It's almost as if they're counting snaps. But and something it's just weird because it can't be this way every week, but they're alternating drives, right? And Coleman might be in for a 12-play drive, and then Lucas could be in for a 13-play drive. You don't know how long the drive is going to be, right? Lucas could have been in on the drive where, Eckler had the 50-yard run, and then that was a 5-play drive, right? Whereas Coleman could have been in, and we started our own 9-yard line, and it ends up being a 16-play, 91-yard drive. How are you able to determine, hey, Cole Luke needs to have one more snap than Brandon Coleman, right? It just feels like they're counting snaps. Maybe they're not, but it feels like they're counting snaps because every week he's got one more snap than Brandon Coleman. So it's like, well, the guard hasn't officially changed because Cole Luke still has one more snap than him. It's just, that's funny to me. Eck was back. Great to see him back. 33 snaps for him. Ben Sinnott, 24 snaps. Brian Robinson Jr., only 23 snaps. And we got clarification from DQ that B-Rob's just fine. He didn't play in the second half because they didn't need him, right? They had Eck going. They had Jeremy McNichols in their back pocket. So they were very comfortable with B-Rob resting and getting ready for next week. So isn't that a luxury? That is a beautiful luxury to have, right? And then you see some of the guys that got to play because of the blowout down at the bottom. Michael Dieter, Marcus Mariota, Bryson Tremaine, who got a catch in this game, even though he lost about 3 or 4 yards. Trent Scott and Colson Yankoff. So we go from the offensive snaps to the defensive snaps. Frankie Louvu played the most snaps, so no defender. This is the first time all season that no defender has played 100 snaps. Bobby Wagner was a snap demon the first 4 weeks. I think he played 100% of the snaps every single week before this week. He still played almost all of the defensive snaps at 94%. But Frankie Louvu led the charge with 59 snaps, which is good for 95% of the defensive snaps. Chin, 58, along with Wagner, St. Juice as well at 94%. Mikey Samer still 56 snaps. Noah Igbenogany, 54 snaps. I really think the secondary is never going to be great, but I think it's rounding into shape. Whatever shape that is, it's rounding into it, right? I like Noah Igbenogany. I like the general. Mikey Samer still is starting to really settle in. Benjamin St. Juice, we know what he is, right? Nothing more, nothing less, and that's okay. We really didn't hear a lot from Emmanuel Forbes. That's because he didn't play a lot in this game. Only 4 defensive snaps, as you can see all the way at the bottom. I wonder what that says. Obviously, I think they like this mix of St. Juice, Samer still, and Igbenogany, with Mikey Samer still playing on the outside opposite of Benjamin St. Juice and Noah Igbenogany playing in the slot. And I think that might be our best mix right now. Quan Martin, 49 snaps. Also, DQ told us that at his presser that Quan Martin is fine. They went ahead and took him out after he hurt his shoulder. they took him out, and he was fine. He could have gone back in if need be, but he didn't need to. So they left him out of the game. Deron Payne, 37 snaps. Dorrance Armstrong, 36. Dante Fowler Jr., 34. Jonathan Allen, 32. This is a good number here. Payne at 60. Everybody else in the 50s. This is a good number. Javonte John Baptiste, 30 snaps. Fedarian Mathis, coming off of the best game of his career, played 26 snaps. Johnny Newton, 25. So they're ramping him up as well. Jamin Davis, 23. Percy Butler, 22. Michael Walker, 6. Jeremy Reeves, Michael Davis, Derek Forrest, and Nick Ballore all got in late in the ball game in mop-up duty. So eventually we're going to see some of the young guys, right? Eventually you're going to get F.A. Obata back in this mix. Eventually, or he's not young, but eventually you will get the young linebacker in this mix as well. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens as they start to mix in some of these other guys that are coming off of these lists. So these numbers are really good. They're interesting because they're starting to tell you how things are shaping up, especially in the secondary. Forbes only playing 4 snaps tells you right now that they don't see him in this mix right now. If things are going well, he won't play as much. They like this combination of St. Juice and Mikey Samer still on the outside and Noah Igbenogany on the inside. He had a nice pass breakup, did Noah Igbenogany on a slant inside on a slot slant. So, man, I'm loving Iggy, man, a lot more so than I thought I was going to as a defender. So, I think things are starting to shape up for this defense, obviously. And they're starting to get comfortable with guys in certain roles and how many snaps to play them and so forth and so forth. Remember, they said they wanted to roll 17, 18 deep. I think they're starting to get to a point where they're comfortable with the guys that they're putting on the field. So let's react to DQ presser quickly, and then we'll get out of here. So DQ talked about a number of items. He talked about his favorite plays from the game. And his favorite play was the OZ recovery of the fumble. And that was a big play. Again, it just shows the hustle. And I think they love when guys hustle, do the little things. And he's talked profusely about OZ before the season started, during the early portion when OZ wasn't touching it as much. He says, OZ is a prideful guy that does all of the dirty work. He does all of the little stuff. He'll block, he'll run down on special teams. He'll return punts for you. He'll do whatever you ask him to do. He'll do the dirty work, and he won't complain. He's selfless, and he's a team-first guy, and that play was a great example of that. He talked about Fedarian Mathis playing his best game, and they really felt good about what they saw from him, and I talked about it yesterday. It was by far and away the best game we've seen from Fedarian Mathis in his career. He talked about the tackling from this game. He said it was extremely, extremely good. The best it's been all season. I think we can all attest to that. He said, in every game this season, they've had like double-digit missed tackles, only 4 missed tackles in this game, he said. And, they were flying around. They were arriving violently, all of that good stuff in this game. He said the only thing that they're missing now is they're not creating the turnovers. But he said he likes the fact that they're going after the ball, and he sees the effort, and now they just need to get the results. He's like, we got to win the turnover battle. Obviously, we lost it yesterday. It was the first time we lost the turnover battle all season. 2 turnovers to 1. I count 4th down stops as a turnover, but that's not an official turnover in the stats. So we will be at 0 next week when we take a look at the stats overall. We've been at +1 all season essentially. Now we're going to be at 0 because we turned it over twice, the interception and Terry fumble, and we only got 1 back, and that was the Watson fumble. So we got some work to do, but he was very encouraged by what he saw. He also talked about the special teams aspect, and he said, look, man, they tackle on special teams. And he's like, I know sometimes they might get the ball out to the 28 or the 29, and it may not feel like that big of a difference. It's only 1 or 2 yards, but he's like, it's the energy that provides. It's the guys making big hits. We've seen Jeremy McNichols make big hits. We've seen Colson Yankoff and Ben Sinnott make big tackles, and that gets the defense fired up. And he's like, you can't underscore and discount what those tackles, even if the return comes out to the 30 or the 28 or the 29, you can't discount what kind of energy that provides the defense coming onto the field. And then he's like, that's also another opportunity for us to poke the ball free. We did it twice against Arizona, he said. We didn't recover it, but, it's another opportunity for us to try to get the ball out. So I agree with all of that. Now, I've talked about our special teams being really, really good this season. And he talked about Nick Bellore and his impact. Man, Nick Bellore he's a fiend, man. Now, I get it why they brought him in. I'm like, why y'all bringing this old-ass linebacker in here? Now I get it. Like, between him and Reeves and McNichols and some of these other man, we got some fiends on special teams. The guys that are flying down there making it happen. And Bellore is always flying down there. So you'd love to see it. And DQ talked about that energy that Bellore and others bring on special teams. Talked about Jayden and the deep ball to Terry and how that really kicked off the game for us offensively. Even though we didn't score on that possession due to the turnover, he's like, that was a big play that really kicked things off, got it going in a positive direction. And it was a precursor of things to come from a big play standpoint in the game. We had a bunch of them, as I mentioned at the top of the show, in this game. And so he said, that was a play that showed the progression and the growth of Jayden. He said, earlier in the season, he probably would have used his legs there, would not have looked down the field to Terry and heaved that thing and created that massive play. But, in his growth and maturation, he's now keeping his head up, looking down the field. Terry talked about that after the game as well, how, that's something they've worked on in practice, and now he was able to bring it into the game. And it's another added dimension that teams have to defend against. It's easy to try to chase him down when you see him break the pocket. But if you vacate a space, now a receiver could come open and he can get the ball to him. So just another layer and wrinkle he's added to the mix to make it that much harder to defend him moving forward. DQ also talked about the comparisons to Lamar Jackson. He said, we've never really brought that up. That was never a thing for us. He said this was always about Jayden being the best version of Jayden Daniels. I love that answer, by the way, because I think the lazy thing to do is to compare Jayden Daniels to some other quarterback. I think he's got aspects of everybody's, a bunch of different quarterbacks' games, but he's not like anybody else in the league. And I've talked about that already. He's got a sprinkle of C.J. Stroud. He's got a sprinkle of Lamar Jackson. He's got a sprinkle of Josh Allen. He's got a sprinkle of Aaron Rodgers. Like he's, a sprinkle of Patrick Mahomes. Like a sprinkle of all of these guys, and it makes him this dynamic unicorn of a quarterback, which is why he's been able to burst onto the scene and do some of the things that he's done and really set the NFL on fire. And now we're talking about this guy not just as a rookie of the year. People are putting him 5 weeks in of his rookie season in the MVP conversation. That's a real thing happening right now. Mike Florio, I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw that interview. I don't care for Mike Florio, so I was like, I don't even want to see this shit. But, he brought it up yesterday, right? And talked to Jayden after the game briefly, and he said, well, you're not going to bring it up, but I'll bring it up for you, right? So it's a real thing. It's a real conversation. Type in Jayden Daniels MVP, and you'll see 5 or 6 videos pop up of people talking about this. I think it's way too early to be considering that, but that's how great of a start he's gotten off to. And so when I talk about he's a sprinkle of this guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, it's not some far-fetched, thing that I just made up. It's a real thing. He's got everything. There's not one thing that this guy can't do on the football field, which makes him so dynamic. DQ talked about Jonathan Allen, and it was good to see him really, get off yesterday. Allen's playing well now. He's hit his stride. They're having fun. I know you guys heard about Deron Payne telling the reporters that the two were playing rock, paper, scissors to see who got to, be in the game in a specific package. One of them is supposed to come out when they get into that specific package. They were having so much fun. They played rock, paper, scissors to see who got to stay in the game. And Deron lost, but he said J.A. let him stay in the game anyway. So that was pretty cool, man. The guys are having fun. This is the most fun I've ever seen a Washington team have. You can tell the guys genuinely like each other. They enjoy playing with one another, and they enjoy having fun, right? And winning does that. Winning creates this type of environment. So lots of good vibes right now as we, get to the first real quarter pole of the season. I guess we're now hitting, almost a third of the season here, up, 4-1, right? And the best in the NFC East. We'll talk more about the division as a whole tomorrow on the show, but feels good to see this Commanders team playing the type of ball that is playing right now. Celebrate! We're the best in the East, and you could argue we're the best in the NFC overall. Minnesota Vikings have something to say about that, but if the playoffs started today, your Washington Commanders, our Washington Commanders, would be the number 2 seed in the NFC. How about that? How about that? How you feeling? Leave it in the comment section, man. Have you shed most of, I know it's impossible for me to ask you to shed all of your PTSD, but have you shed most of your PTSD at this point? Like, DQ was asked a question. I'm going to end the show on this. A reporter asked a great question. Like, the fan base, and let me say this. A lot of you who were at the game, you corrected me, because I said on the TV it didn't look like the house was packed. A lot of y'all said, no, the house was packed. And I saw a video when they were doing the wave, and it panned around the entire, the joint was packed. And DQ talked about it after the game. He talked about it again today, that the crowd was incredible. They caused, some false starts, made it tough on the Browns. He said part of the reason they went 1 of 13 on third downs was because the house was rocking. Northwest was rocking. And so I love to hear that. I wanted that to be the type of energy they got and the welcome they got coming back home after such a successful road trip. And shout out to everybody that was in attendance that made Northwest a tough environment for the Cleveland Browns. That said, DQ talked about the fans and how incredible they were. He did the Joe Gibbs thing. I love that. I love that, by the way. And I think he's going to continue to do that, which is a good thing. Yeah, you can't go wrong doing that. And he talked about the fans. Someone asked him, what do you say to the fans who have PTSD, who are waiting for the other shoe to drop, like they can't believe what's happening? And DQ says, I don't see it like that. And he doesn't have our experience, so he shouldn't see it that way. Bobby Wagner has no idea what we're talking about, right? Austin Eckler doesn't know what we're talking about. They aren't affected by the things of the past like we are. But DQ's like, I don't see it that way. Honestly, I think that, we've got a chance to create a home field environment. He said, I'll just tell the fans this. They were great on Sunday. We need that energy moving forward. We want to make this a tough place to play, and it's 2024. And I'm like, that was his way of doing what Rivera asked, but instead of him asking us to do that, he just threw that out there. Hey, it's 2024. We changing the game. And before Rivera asked for us to forget about the past before he did anything. DQ is already coming here, changed the game, and now he's like, bro, we showing y'all the shit is different. So give us a different type of energy. Message received. Duly noted. I love it. Want more of it. How y'all feeling? Leave it down in the comment section, man. Have you shed the PTSD? Are you a true believer after the 4-1 start in the second consecutive week of utter destruction of our opponent? And we rested our quarterback in the fourth quarter like some G's. How y'all feeling, man? I'm feeling stupendous. Tremendous dream, but it ain't tremendous cream. It ain't just $1 in a dream. Thinking about big time things. Like the Super Bowl? Did I just say that? No, I didn't just say that. Leave it in the comment section. How you feeling on this Victory Monday? 4-1. Can't wait to read your responses. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. I'll see some of you for Monday Night Football overtime. Saints Chiefs, $1,500 on the line tonight. Big game. We'll see if it gets done or not. But for the rest of you, see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, and to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone.